as I'm sitting here under the tarp at Leighton Brook, I've got it looks like about 10-12 minutes of time left on this. I just watched a big piece slide in. It's still sliding in right over there. So I got a feeling that big tree that's overhanging right there, that section right there has been moving a lot in the last few minutes. That looks like the unstable spot at the moment, but again, back over here, it's constantly moving right there, moving and sliding in. So I mean, that whole bank, which last fall I have the pictures of, there was 40 or 50 feet of forest right along that whole stretch there. I mean, that disappeared mostly in the last two and a half weeks during those two previous rainstorms, and then this one. If that much collapsed in since it thawed out, oops, boom, just there it goes. There it goes. Big boom, big hunks of clay just went cascading down right there. Let's see, it's raining a little bit. We'll go out here and, oop, yeah, there it goes. Oop. Yeah, all that gray clay right above it, that's all the gray, big chunks of gray that just slid down, and all that stuff you see above it's gonna go. How much of the bank up top and the forest matter takes, who knows. But that's, I mean, from the tip of Leighton Brook here down for 100 yards is where most of the recent erosion's going on. It looks like a weak spot, and with Leighton Brook opening it up like this and the river coming down almost going straight into that wall, there's going to be some major silt flowing downstream here in the next day or two, and all this year. Every time we get a high rain, this thing's going to be falling apart. And then next winter, oh God, yeah, that whole bottom thing just slid. That whole thing's just moving on its perpetual way down into the water to turn into silt, to come down and clog up our lower river valley. Now, as we're sitting here watching this, just in a few minutes of film, there's stuff just cascading in, although there was more right over there I just saw, but this thing is moving pretty good. This is just in an unstable of the most unstable materials there could possibly be. The different veins of clay, the sand and clay mix, some sand, not much, mostly clay and sand mix or solid clay. This is just the worst of worst materials. No bedrock under here, there's no gravel, there's nothing to line a riverbed, nothing to keep this thing channelized, and it's just going to keep eating away at this whole, God knows how far. How much does Governor Lynch and Tom Barak and Sylvia Larson think this river valley can take of this nonsense? You've choked off all the river bottom down below, all the floodplains, all the woods. Where the water, now at the water at its height now, it used to be in woods and stuff. Now it's just silt. You've raised up the woods with silt. Look at this. When's it stop, Governor Lynch? When do you take care of New Hampshire, for cripe's sakes, instead of 93 to get tourists and more people to move up here? When we can't afford our houses due to property taxes, somebody else will move in and take it. Is that all you're concerned about? Is that why 93 is getting widened and this is not getting neglected? This is criminal negligence here. Property destruction, river valley desecration. This is criminal negligence. I'll come back tonight or tomorrow, and you know, there's going to be major changes just on this one banking here. Never mind upstream where we just saw earlier. I mean, if only I could show you the rest of the river here through the woods, you know. Oh, God. Yeah, this is just the sand pit, and you just saw upstream. I mean, there's 6 miles of this, 7 miles of this nonsense before it gets to my house, and it's probably about 11 miles, 10 miles, probably about, ooh, there's a big hunk right over there. It's probably about 10 miles from the Merrimack River, maybe 9 miles from the Merrimack River. So all this is coming your way, Manchester, Nashua, Methuen, Dracut, Lowell, Lawrence, Haverhill, Newburyport, Mass, Atlantic Ocean. It's all coming your way. Might take a long time. Fortunately, Batchelder Road is taking the brunt of it right now because it's getting backed up by the Buck Street Dam that they wanted to remove. They could remove. They could do it out of a safety concern and trying to save the river valley down below from the flooding and the silt piling up. I mean, the more you keep that water down, the less silt is going to pile up in the floodplains. You know, I mean, but just nothing out of you guys. Nothing at all. There's not even a silt fence out here on state of New Hampshire land to fake it, while they hold property owners and contractors to a complete set of strict standards. I see nothing that applies to them. The state of New Hampshire permitted the sand pit to be here. They allowed the removal of the hillside that used to be here. They collected revenue off the hillside and removal of it, just like the town of Epsom did. So the very first penny of revenue the state of New Hampshire and Epsom took from this made them responsible. And the town of Epsom, particularly the selectman Keith Coder, who was their spokesman. Keith Coder is also a state of New Hampshire employee. He's an engineer or something with the Department of Transportation. And he's Epsom's lead spokesman. I think that's a hell of a conflict of interest, especially since right from the start he said it's too expensive to fix. You know, nothing we can do. You know. And they never wanted to put the river back. The Epsom selectmen or the state of New Hampshire governor's office or DES never have tried to put the river back. We've offered solutions. We've walked them through the route. It's a 105-yard long channel to connect the river up. All this nonsense would stop, and they saw it. They walked away, and we had a qualified large New Hampshire local contractor come and do an estimate and tell them his evaluation. He said it's not just doable, it's easily done. And they walked away. I originally showed Tom Barak that route, 2 years ago. They tried telling me they considered it and it'd take a big dam and blah blah blah. Well, if that's a dam, then you put 16 miles of dams up along the Cold River when we went and reconstructed Alstead. We put both river banks together all the way to the Connecticut River, walking excavators and rock trucks right down through the water because there was no roads and just rough terrain. And that's how Alstead was fixed. After Alstead, you came here and just totally neglected and destroyed this river valley. This is a sin. And in a quick overview, the top of the ground you see there used to connect up over to here. See the top of the berm there? It's what they call a peat bog. Well, that used to connect up to this height of land straight across. And now the water's about 7, 8, 10 feet higher than normal. But everything, including where the water is, and all the land between here and here, is washed downstream. Now when you get around the corner, it took huge chunks out, and it's eaten right through the clay beds over there. All that's gone and washed downstream. When you look upstream, the massive expanse of land that was washed out and washed downstream. All this over here used to be peat bog and woods. it washed all that out and sent it downstream. And this river keeps trying to eat up through the backside. You see this little pond here? It seems to be making a channel up through the woods. And if, God forbid, it does that, which it starts eating its way up, the heavier the flow is, then everything in between the existing river and that channel that it goes up to will disappear downstream in one storm, just like this avulsion did. Another 7, 8, 10 acres coming downstream in one swoop within 2 hours. You know, the water ran like mud for weeks, but I mean for those 2, 3, 4 hours when the avulsion happened, it was more mud in this water than there was water. And then 2007 happened, where it opened it up twice as wide. Same thing. And then 2008, 2009, here it is, 2010, and it's eaten out more and more of this sand pit. It's eaten out all the banks all the way up to Route 4 in the meantime. It's made a little tributary brook called Leighton Brook, which is about 3 feet wide up at Route 4, right up by those houses. I mean, it's Blackhall Road, right up by those houses. It's about 3 feet wide. In the meantime, it's come down here, opened up this chasm, 250 feet wide right here easily. And without the water there, it'd be about, 35, 40 feet deep down to the water when that's gone. Yep. So Leighton Brook did that. This little runoff here, this little tiny runoff that we looked at before, that little tiny runoff right there, where are ya? Flows down through this thing, and it made this whole chasm here. Now you're looking about 30 feet across, and how many feet deep? Look at this, look at this. This is a good 30 feet down to the water right here. All from that little tiny trickle. Just that little tiny trickle made this whole nonsense here. Look at this. All from this little trickle. And they've allowed this to keep going on for 4 years, and look at the destruction going on here, and the silt violation and the water quality violation. They're breaking every rule in the state water quality standard book and the federal book, yet they still uphold property owners and contractors to the strictest set of standards. You know, this is hypocritical at best. We'll go check out that one more time.